became aware that I was over my body and re-entering in a very violent way. You know, like I said, from my head to my foot, where I was shaking violently, and so bad it threw. I was on a bunk bed at the time. I think Holden was on the bottom bunk, and shaking violently, and to the point I threw my blankets off me. Like I couldn't control my arms or my legs; they were just fluttering.
Mm-hmm.
And and so woke everybody up and things like this. And after that, I didn't have any more experiences for a long time. I didn't. I mean, I probably did. I don't just didn't recall them. But for a very long time until at least my teenage years when I guess I was in high school or maybe just after high school. I finally started to have the experiences again in that in the house on Three Lakes. And that's kind of where I started experimenting with it. I kind of started to realize when it would happen, and I kind of knew when it was about to happen, and I would either let it happen or I wouldn't. And I'm even still to this day, I'm kind of, well, should I let it happen or shouldn't I? I don't let it scare me like I did back then. But when I was a teenager, I would actually practice going in and out of the body, like when I would feel like it was about to happen. When it happens for me, anyways, it happens differently for a lot of people, but I'd be like people either do it when they meditate or when they take a nap, or there's just a few different ways for it to happen. Me, I have to be basically when I'm either taking a nap or when I wake up in the morning but I decide to go back to sleep. I have to be in a very specific state. I'd have to be where my body is asleep but my mind is completely conscious. A lot of people are probably like, really? You can do that? Yes, you really can. And it's a very weird place to be because your body, I guess, it starts out, you feel like you can't really move. You feel sort of paralyzed physically because that's probably what's actually happened. When you're sleeping, you are paralyzed, but you're also when you start to move a little bit. You start to move an arm or your hand. You put up your hand up near your face and wait a minute, I can't see it. Weird little things like that. That's kind of how I just started to experiment with it. And then I would, but you can kind of at that point you can like sort of roll out of your body, like, um, and I'll get to that later where I came up with that term, and or you can really concentrate and jump back into reality, wake up, and and you got to get to a certain point where you feel comfortable doing either one. It can be very scary at first, like I said. And I would allow myself to go out of body. Say when I was 14, 16, 18, I would just move around the room. You know, sometimes I would float, sometimes I would fly, sometimes it seemed like you don't really walk, but you're still just right off the ground. And it's all just and it's you feel like you have a body and like astral, it's like astral body. I guess it is, but it's really just your consciousness, moving about. And I did that for honestly a lot of years. I would when it was I would never intention at that point I would never intentionally go out of body, but it's just something I knew when it was about to happen, and I knew I could, and once I got to that point, that's where I could control it, whether or not to go out of body. And so I did that honestly up until my 20s, up until my early to mid 20s. I would just practice going in and out of body. Later on, after way later on, when my wife, then girlfriend, moved to Georgia here where I live now, our first apartment. I would practice a lot there too during a day off or whatever. I would lay down, take a nap, and I would go out of body. And again, just practicing going in and out, just letting myself know that this is something that can be controlled. It can be something that can be helpful, you know. And then I wouldn't just move throughout the room. I would go out of the window. I would fly around the parking lot, things like that. It would be in a slightly different kind of place, slightly different, if you believe, slightly different kind of dimension. Saying everything looks the same, but the people walking around, when I realized, there aren't many, I can't, one thing I can't do yet is go out of body, let's say right now, and then see you sitting there. If I were to go out of body right now, I would just see the couch, you know. And but one thing we'll get into later is I can see spirits, and I can hear many, many voices, and I can hear music sometimes, and and yeah, and so I did that for a lot of years. But then once I started to get comfortable, and once I started finally saying, "Hey, okay, I want to go home after work. I want to lay down and intentionally go out of body. I want to try doing this myself." So that's what I started working on.
So they say that a lot of times you might hear a buzzing sound or
Mhm.
electric sound. Or do you have any of that?
It's sometimes there's a few different things that happen. Most of the time, no, I don't hear a buzzing sound. I hear, like I said, I hear a lot of voices. I mean, sometimes I see a lot of figures, a lot of spirits. If you believe in such a thing, I've seen spirits, I've seen ghosts. You know what I'm saying? I've never, as I'm going out of body, it to me it just feels like my body becomes heavier and my soul is soul is light. It's completely it's weightless. But yeah, I feel weightless. I feel like I feel like it's I just move out of my body. Sometimes it takes longer than other times, and sometimes I really have to focus to do it. Sometimes it just happens quickly, and that just comes with, I think anyway, like anything, just comes with repetition. You just the more you do it, the easier. The more you do it, the more you allow yourself, to let it be easy.